One of the most convenient things you can add to your Goldwing is a key knob. Now, you may wonder, why would you want to do this? Well, every time you stop to get gas or you want to open your glove box, you got to turn off the bike, pull your key out of the ignition so that you can unlock these things. Well, I'm going to show you how to take a radio knob from a Goldwing and make it into a key so that you don't have to do that. The first thing you're going to need is a replacement radio knob to use for this project, and there's the number that you can order from Honda. I'm using a standard black rubber one from Honda, but you can also use an aftermarket chrome radio knob, or maybe a painted one, or whichever one you want. The next thing you're going to need is going to be a spare key, and I don't recommend that you use a key that came with your Goldwing for this, because you're going to need to cut the handle off of it. So go down to your local hardware store, and I use an Access 27R. They can cut it to fit. They're designed actually for the Honda Accord, and it's the same key that your Goldwing uses, and they're pretty cheap, so you should be able to do that pretty easily. The next thing you're going to need is some Gorilla Glue. That's what I use. You could use some sort of an epoxy, but this is the best I've found for this purpose. It's a good idea to test your spare key just to make sure it will open your glove box and your gas lid before we get started. Okay, now here I'm using a Dremel tool with a little cutoff wheel to basically cut the head off of that key. Now, usually about 1/4 of an inch below the bottom of that key handle is where I'll start cutting. Now, you also want to make sure you wear protective eyewear anytime you use one of these Dremel tools, because those discs can break. And you can also use a hacksaw for this. Now here I'm using my Dremel tool with a small diameter cutoff wheel to cut a groove into that center post of the underside of that rubber knob. Now some knobs have a little metal sleeve inserted, and you'll have to remove that with a pair of needle nose pliers. This one did not have that. So I'm just cutting this groove down as far as I can get without gouging into the outside perimeter of the knob. Now here I'm just using a file to basically file down the end of that key that we cut off, and I'm going to file it to a point. And you can file an extra, maybe 1/8 of an inch off of that, but I want it to come to a point so it's almost sharp on the end. That makes it a little easier to jam down into that knob. You can see it's kind of sharp and tapered there. And next, let's go ahead and insert the end of that key down into that slot we cut into the rubber knob, into that center post area. And I use a rubber mallet to kind of tap it in, just to get it in as far as I can. And then we're going to go test fit it on the bike to see how much clearance there is between the bottom of the knob and the lock mechanism. There you can see that clearance. Now we have that much more we can grind off the end of that key to try to get that knob to fit closer to the chrome lock ring. So once you've ground the additional space off of that key, you're ready to glue the key into that knob. And I use Gorilla Glue for this. I just fill up that center post with Gorilla Glue, and then I insert the end of that key and tap it in place with my rubber mallet. And you need to let this Gorilla Glue dry for, I'd say, 8 to 10 hours just to be safe. It will set up, and I've never had one come loose. It's waterproof, it's very tough, very durable, and when it does dry, it looks kind of like this here. You can see it kind of bubbly, but it's hard as a rock. And that's how you make a key knob for your Goldwing. Hey, if you're a Goldwing enthusiast and you enjoy these videos, there's a few things you can do to encourage me to make more of these videos. First, like this video on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, join my Facebook page at Cruiseman's Garage, and sign up for my free newsletter at my website, www.cruisemansgarage.com.